Possible peace deal on the table, and is that going to be the ultimate short now after yesterday's pump? This is the daily entry. I'm bringing you setups for day trading on the NASDAQ, oil, gold, and of course BTC. Let's go. Now, yesterday was a hell of a day for me because on the video for the daily entry, oil was looking nice and bullish. We had the NAS and the Dow at nice resistance zones. And what happened within 10-15 minutes, they dropped the talk of that peace deal and the market absolutely exploded. And my trading account turned into a bit of a war zone. So guys, what we need to do here in situations like that is we go and we play these zones consistently. Obviously, yesterday was an extreme move out of the markets, but now hopefully things are going to settle down and we can start figuring out what the next big play is. So what is the next big play today? Well, this is the news that we have at the moment. We are looking for some kind of final interim agreement here. Now, is this priced in already? Is the market simply going to sell this news now when this agreement comes out? Or worst case, even what if this agreement doesn't come through today, or there are new terms, or there's another argument? So then look out, oil price could pump and all of these things could fall over, flushing out some of the longs. Okay, so guys, this is what I'm doing at the moment. I'm back on the horse. Okay, we're sitting in UBIT here having a crack at gold short and the NAS short. They simply in my zones that I am trying to play consistently and watching these areas, but obviously eyes like a hawk now. We do have some more news coming out today, so I'm going to give you a couple of ideas here and thoughts around everything. Now, let's start with oil. This is obviously the big dog, and oil, when I was talking to you guys yesterday before the peace deal came out, oil was looking pretty bullish and those shorts were looking really good. But subsequent to that, obviously the deal came out, oil collapsed. And look where we find ourselves, floating around the 200-day moving average. This is a big marker. Okay, so everybody is tracking this 200-day MA on oil, and we can agree, like oil 200-day as support, generally bullish, and 200-day as resistance, generally bullish for an asset. Okay, so right now you can see there's a big fight around here, and it's all going to come down to the wording in this agreement, if there is actually some kind of agreement, or if they're simply kicking the can down the road and hostilities continue. So the oil is going to be the big guide to us today. But what can we see at the moment? This is oil on the 8-hour. There are signs that it should actually give a bounce here. There are some bullish signs here on oil, and that could mean that some of these other assets that have exploded during the course of the day might have even a short-term breather. Okay, so this is obviously something we need to keep an eye on. What I can suggest today is in terms of sizing, if you were on the side of getting smashed yesterday like I was, obviously be careful with your sizing, but don't not trade these zones. Just do them consistently and get into the flow of things. Okay, so let's get into the next chart. This has got to be the Dow. Now, this thing was crazy yesterday, absolutely printing all-time highs, big explosion. Now, what do we know about the Dow? Every time this thing comes and prints all-time highs, we do know that it eventually does come back. You can go back and you can see all these examples. So yesterday was obviously an extreme move, and I am at some point, it might go up a little bit more first, but I am at some point expecting this thing to come back down before we get some kind of continuation. I think that would be reasonable to expect that at some point this thing does cool down. So with that information at hand, what do we do now as traders if we're looking for some action today? Well, the last thing we want to do is jump into early, start trying to top long just in case of news and things like that. We need to be super balanced and cautious as to how we do things. Okay, so some zones of interest for me that I want to give to you guys today. You can see I've written here air resistance. Okay, this line up here is simply a 1.618 fib. That is all we have to work with at the moment on the Dow. Okay, so look out. If we do get some kind of pump, that's probably an area where some traders might look to sell and this thing might roll over. But in terms of the Dow, I'm not doing anything with regards to shorts because I don't have enough data higher up at the moment. Now, what do we do if this thing starts rolling over? I think if it rolls over, it's reasonable to assume that there will be buyers along the way, and there's certain areas that we can engage where we can try and get our 2-to-1 trades. And right now, the zones that make sense to me, I've got a degen bounce zone for you guys. I like these wicks on the 45 minutes. 53,735. Okay, 53,735. You're looking for a degen bounce in this area, not looking for too much, some kind of reaction, and then possibly a roll over here on that guy, subject to our oscillators. Then lower down, this is a much better looking area for me. If you zoom out a little bit, look at that. We've got some nice horizontals here. I've got the VWAP coming into play as well in this zone. So that is the higher conviction play, 53,262. Okay, so those are the two big zones for now that are interesting to me on the Dow. We don't need to look much further down. Let's let this news come out during the course of the day. Let's look for some movement, and those are the types of zones that we can play. Now let's look at the NAS. Also brutal mover yesterday. Absolutely smashed everybody that was sitting short. Look at these big levels. So I've zoomed out here. Remember, after a big move, you can just zoom out, try and identify the big playing zones, and you can see on the NASDAQ, in terms of the 12-hour time frame, you can see there's only a select group of major areas. 1, 2, 3 more big zones to the upside before we hit all-time high. Those are 3 main shortable areas or rejection zones that we can watch. And then in terms of major long zones at the moment, there's only 2 real big zones that we can really pay attention to on the 12-hour time frame, and that reminds us that once we zoom in, a lot of the stuff is just noise in those local areas. Now let's jump into the NAS and get a closer look at this thing. And in terms of what's happened yesterday, well, the third level, now funny enough, the NAS gave me a hard time yesterday, but that third level that I dropped in my update in the Chart Hackers Discord did eventually deliver the short. Okay, so we did eventually get some redemption there on the NAS, and the question I'm asking is this thing enough now to roll over? So with oil on support, again, there's a chance oil bounces. With the NAS sitting at resistance, there's a chance it falls over with the oil pump. And obviously, we are waiting for this news to come out now. Are we going to get wording, or is there going to be some more hostility happening? And if there's going to be more hostilities, well, I think the answer is this Dow is going to start bleeding out a little bit. Now, in terms of the signs in the bear's favor at the moment, look at this bearish divergence on the 1-hour time frame that I'm tracking here today. You can see that thing is looking a little bit overcooked now to the upside. Now, where can this thing go? Okay, so in terms of zones, number 1, okay, degen zone 29,596. This is a simple pivot area here. You might get a short flush, then we might see some news, and then you can try that long 29,596. Okay, so right now that is the first degen zone, and then I'm not really interested in much lower down. We've got a random 50-day MA with some levels floating around there. I'm not convinced, and then I do like this area a lot, 29,150. So in terms of where would my next long be, high conviction 29,150 into 29,100 looking good to me. Degens, if you want to try something, 29,600 off that zone. And then in terms of extra pumps today, guys, can this thing pump more today? Extra pumps 30,040. That's a reasonable reaction zone for me. And then another one, 30,300. That's another reasonable rejection zone that I think we could get some value at over there. Remember, these charts, I'm going to drop them in the Chart Hackers Discord for you guys. Just go into the show description, sign up to the Chart Hackers Discord. I've got a daily entry channel. I drop those charts. I drop updates in there as well as some of the trading updates that I'm going on through the day. Okay, let's go into our final 2 big charts here, and this is gold. Obviously, this thing is absolutely cooking at the moment, but you can see what's happened in this explosive move. It's run itself into wicks and a bearish order block. You can see the 50-day MA as well is causing a bit of problems, and you can see we are getting reversals on the oscillator. Obviously, we don't have any guarantees now with news around the corner, but in terms of, is gold at a decent resistance zone? Yes. Is the oscillator reversing? Yes. Okay, so you can see we are getting our reactions in those areas. What do we do now if we're looking for fresh setups for today? Well, I think the 2 big zones at the moment that make sense to me are either a push higher up into 4,200. That could be the next big zone that we can pay attention to. So if there is another squeeze up during the course of the day, 4,200 should be a reasonable zone to start looking for a short. We do have some higher time frame bearish blocks up there as well. So 4.2, watch that area. If this thing keeps on rolling over, this is the first zone that actually makes sense to me at the moment for a bounce, and I've written a note here. We want to tie it in with the oscillator reversal. Okay, so if our oscillator is dropping down in this area and it's not reversing, let's say it's sitting somewhere in the middle here and gold is sitting in that zone, I would say stay away from pushing buttons until we get a comprehensive reversal on our oscillator. We want to see those reversal prints. We want to see that type of energy on a good support, and the reason we want to see that is that it lowers our risk. Okay, we want to lower our risk here. We want to have the highest probability of a trade going in our favor by making sure these things are lining up together. Okay, so gold longs 4,120 into 4,100. That's the first area that makes sense to me. Watch the Chart Hackers Discord for updates later on during the course of the day. Now, obviously the big one, guys, Bitcoin. Let's talk about this thing. And there's not many changes from yesterday. Now, we had all this news, NASDAQ pumped, Dow pumped, S&P 500, everything rips, but Bitcoin does absolutely nothing. And I'm still of the view that the big short zone for Bitcoin has to be this region up here. You can see this whole wick fill zone that you see in this area, 65, I call it 64,800, all the way into 65,300. This whole region is a danger zone in terms of Bitcoin. You can see our oscillator on the 2-hour printing further divergences. It is getting tired. So I'm simply looking for one more pump in the market, one more excitement push in the market that we can look for that short on Bitcoin. Okay, so that is my current plan there. In terms of degen plays, guys, longs 63,380, you can play in that area. But if you watched the video yesterday, my preferred long is this big zone lower down, sub 62K. Why? We've got liquidity there. We have used up the weekend low liquidity already, and that is where the next big long is going to be for me on BTC. Okay, so guys, there's your daily entry. Obviously, keep it tight now. Yesterday wasn't a great day for me, but we're going to make it back. We're going to play in these good areas, and we're going to play them consistently. Okay, keep it tight. Take some profits. That's your daily entry. Later.